Hey, Twisted listeners, I'm Cindy.
And I'm Diva.
And this is Twisted Listers, a podcast about murder
and lists.
And this is part 2 of Murders of Australia. And I listened to my last one. I feel like I was so confused the whole time I was talking. Like sometimes
that's just like your perception. Like it wasn't confusing to listen to. It was just like that in your brain.
I just felt like I was having trouble like finding the words. I almost felt like I was like Jeff Goldblum in it. Like, and then
oh my God.
And I was like, oh man. Also, I just watched Earth Girls Are Easy again. Have you seen that?
I have never seen that.
Dude, you have to see that. It's so fucking good. The costumes are insane. The songs are all fantastic. Gina Davis in all her like 6-foot babe glory. Like,
she's great.
Yeah, it's so good. It's like young Jim Carrey too, which is like so strange but awesome. Highly recommend for everyone.
Movie recommendations.
Yes, movie recommendations that are not like true crime related. So nobody's going to give a shit, but it's a fantastic movie. Anyway.
We just watched Smile again last night, the horror movie for the second time, and it was so good again.
I feel like I don't know. I haven't seen that one.
Smile. That came out last year. It was very popular. It's very scary.
I'll have to watch it.
You would jump a lot. You'd be like, it's very jumpy.
I love that. Okay. I'm having a hard time watching new stuff because my anxiety is so high all the time now that I have to just like comfort watch stuff that I've already seen like 10 times.
Yeah. So. Well, this is a very anxiety causing film, so that'll be good for you.
Oh yeah, I love that. Love it.
Yeah. It's great. It's kind of like, it's on fucking HBO, something else.
All right. I'll have to check it out when I really want to like give myself fucking anxiety, like heart palpitations. Anyway, all right. Join us on Patreon, patreon.com/twistedlisters. TikTok is just at Twisted Listers. You can join us on Instagram at
Twisted Listers PCast.
If you'd like to send us an email, you can do that at
twistedlisterspod@gmail.com.
And if you'd like to check out our website and buy some stickers, you can do that at
twistedlisterspod.com. And I feel like I forget those a little bit every time.
I know, I love it. I always listen for the like trip up and then like the catch up in your voice. You're like,
my brain is not great at retaining information, clearly.
So. Well, it's just ours are all a little bit different, so it makes it kind of hard.
Yeah.
All right, so you went first last time, so I'm going first this time, right?
Yes.
Oh, great. I can't wait to just be done with this one. I know people must always be like, why do you guys do this if you hate it so much? It's not that we hate it. It's just hard. Don't you ever do things that are hard?
It's like we put ourselves through a light amount of trauma and then we want to share it with you.
Yeah, this is our way of bonding by trauma sharing, trauma dumping and trauma sharing. Mm-hmm. All right. This is the story of Sian Kingi.
Mm-hmm.
Kingi. I want to make sure I say that correctly. Yes. Kingi. This takes place in 1987 in Queensland, Australia. Sian was born December 16th, 1974. She was Maori on her father's side. She was a very tall, very athletic, very well-liked girl. Yeah, her mom was white and her dad was Maori, so she's half. She was quiet, but really, really friendly. She had a really solid friend group growing up. And she grew up in Noosa, which is in Queensland, Australia. It's a super safe area. In the 80s, it had about 15,000 residents. It's a very small, very safe, lots of parks, lots of, a very family-oriented place. And so Sian just grows up there and has a great life. So it's November 27th, 1987, and Sian is 12 years old, about to turn 13 in just a few weeks. And she has a party that she's going to that weekend. This is a Friday, November 27th, and the party's on Sunday. So her mom takes her to buy fabric at a store. Her mother, Linda, is going to, sew this new skirt or dress. I think it was a skirt. And so she's super excited, and they go and they find the perfect fabric. They're super stoked, and they leave. And Linda decides, oh, I'm going to stop at a bakery and pick up some bread, and then I'm going to go home. And Sean's like, oh, I've got my 10-speed bike. I'll just ride that. I'll see you at home. Now, this is like her treasured possession, her yellow 10-speed bike. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like, it's her one, it's like her thing, you know, like she loves this bike, and she takes really good care of it. Their house is about a mile from the store, maybe less. And
not a bad ride.
No, really short. Her mom's going to walk, you know, it's like a 15-minute walk.
Yeah.
And it's through a park. It's a very busy, very safe park filled with people, filled with kids. Everybody's just kind of doing their thing. So Sean goes on by herself, and her mom gets home, you know, 20 or so minutes later, and Sean is not there. And her mom is not super worried. Sean, a fairly popular 12-year-old, was riding her bike through the park. So it's quite possible that she ran into friends and stopped to say hello.
Sure.
As a couple more hours pass, she starts to get worried. Linda starts to get a little bit worried. And Sean's father, Barry, comes home. They decide to start calling Sean's friends, but nobody has seen her. So next, they're like, okay, let's go looking for her. Let's go to the park, see if we can find her. So they trace kind of back the way they think she would go. And pretty quickly, they stumble on her prized possession, her yellow 10-speed bike, abandoned on the ground.
That is, I feel like in so many cases of kids who've been taken, like, there's always like a haunting bike. Like,
yeah, because they fucking snatched off of it. And you always think like, oh, the kids on a bike, they're safe, they can get away. And it's like, there's so many things that could happen where that's not the case.
And away, it means for sure that they're not like runaways or, you know, awesome on their own, because they would have the fucking bike.
Yeah, they'd have the bike with them.
They were.
And yeah, exactly. Yeah. And she doesn't, because obviously something happened. So it's not, it's nearly 9:00 p.m., 9 at night. So they get directly to the police. They take the bike, they go to the police. And the police don't mess around here. The detective, actually, that they go and talk to, his daughter plays netball with Sean, so he knows her personally. Also, they kept referring to netball, and I was like, what the fuck is netball? Is it basketball? Do they just call it basketball netball? It's not. It's different. It's like similar, but so with basketball, where you like run and like go up and down the court, with netball, it's more like everybody has a position and you pass it around to each other to throw it in. It sounds really weird, but it's similar. So anyway, again, like I had said,
also has a net.
It has a net, and you like the way I read a description of it, and I was like, this is basketball. And then I was like, oh no, because you don't run, and you don't, it's more just like passing and standing. So it's a little bit different. Gotcha. But in any case, like I said, you know, she was tall, she was athletic. So obviously netball is like her passion. And this detective's daughter was on her team. So this is very like small town vibes where like everybody knows everybody, you know?
Yeah.
So this detective is immediately worried because he knows Sean, and he knows it's not like her to go like off on her own or run away or anything. Right. So there's no like she probably ran away or any of that shit, which is actually pretty refreshing. So he calls actually the local newspaper at 11 p.m. and he asks them for a huge favor. He's like, I know like the post is done for tomorrow, but can you please put in that she's missing and put her picture in the paper? And the Saturday, the paper does it, and it comes out the next morning and has her picture, information about the last time she was seen, you know, all of that. And this generates a ton of leads. Unfortunately, a lot of these leads aren't great. Most people call and they're like, I just wanted you to know I saw her in the park at this time. She wasn't in distress, but I did see her there. So there are people putting her in the park on her bike. But a few people call and they do give something that is interesting. They say, we saw this dusty white station wagon with interstate registration, meaning like not from that area. And like 3 or 4, maybe more people call, and they all say this. They're like, oh, it's around like a 1973. It's like a white wagon. It was weird. Some of the people like give descriptions of like a man and a woman that are in the car. So this is definitely of interest. So police start trying to figure out like if they can find the car. And, you know, the problem is it's a very, very common car at that point. It's about 14-year-old car, but there's a lot of white station wagons, apparently, which I didn't realize was a thing, but apparently that was very popular at the time. So people from the neighborhood, from the city, everybody's joining in on the search for her. Nobody's coming up with anything. Sunday, the day of the party, they're thinking, she was super excited about this party. If she did run away, if something did happen, she's going to show up. She'll show up to this party and then everything will be okay. Very unfortunately, that did not happen. The party came and went and Sian was not there. So, obviously her parents are just, they can't sleep, they can't eat. They're just, where's our daughter, right? So again, the people that described this car and the people in the car, they said, it's a surfer-looking man with bleach blonde hair, an older woman who was a little overweight, also with blonde hair. And so the cars are being searched. Police are searching every station wagon, trying to find it got to the point where they were giving them cards to clear them. So when they get pulled over again, they could be like, I've already been checked. I'm not involved in this situation, in this disappearance. So they were really going hard on this. But finally, on December 3rd, 1987, a woman comes forward and she says, I saw a weird man at the beach, 6 kilometers from the park on that day around 4 p.m. We had a really weird interaction. He was on the beach looking pissed off, kind of looking like he was looking for something. She was there with a friend and her friend had his car broken into recently. So the guy went back up to check on his car because that's the vibe that this guy gave off that they saw was he's going to break into cars. He's up to no good. So the friend goes and looks at his car. She follows him. And the guy that they saw hops into his car and speeds off really quickly. And his car was a dusty white station wagon.
Got him.
This woman gets his plate number. So there we go. So the same day, December 3rd, that this plate number is found, a man is walking in the woods, not super nearby where the park was, but not super far away. And he smells something really, really bad. He goes home. He turns on the news. Again, the story of Sian is huge. It's only been 5 or 6 days. And as soon as he saw that there was a missing girl, he knew what he had smelled. So the very next morning he calls police and he leads them out to where he found the smell, or where he smelled the smell. And there was Sian's body.
Oh my God. So
Sian had died a really horrible death. And I want to give a very big trigger warning. There's going to be 2 points at which I talk about this. One is going to be what we know when they find her, and one is going to be what we find out later. So here's trigger warning 1. Sian was found still mostly clothed. Her underwear was removed and kind of thrown in a nearby area. Her school uniform was pulled up over her chest and head. So obvious, sexual assault. She had been stabbed 12 times, including 3 separate stab wounds that pierced her heart. Her neck had also been cut so deeply that her spine was severed.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And there were signs of strangulation. So just fucking horrific.
Overkill, really. Too.
Big time overkill. Big time.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the 3 stab wounds to the heart did it. The cutting off of the head did it. Or not off, but nearly.
Yeah.
So horrific. And having to tell her parents that, I can't, and having to be those parents, I can't fucking imagine.
No.
So police are really working on this case, and they track down the address that's linked to the station wagon's registration. It's a man whose first name I didn't catch, but his last name is Watts, and he has an adoptive son named Barry Watts. Barry and his wife, Valmay, it's Valmay Beck, Valmay. Her name was on the registration for the car, and the 2 of them had lived with him for a while after both getting out of prison separately. But he says, they got married about a year ago and I haven't seen him since. Sorry. So now we have this couple that the cops want to talk to, and they look up their, previous stints in prison, and it's not good. It's violent. It's very bad stuff. So like I said, Barry Watts and Valmay Beck had only been married about a year, but they both had very long criminal records. Valmay was a mother of 6 children. none of whom she cared for or had any contact with, from what I can tell. So
Oof,
6 children, and just like, they're either taken by the state with the father, like she doesn't give a shit about them.
Okay.
So she's in her very early 40s. She's 10 years older than Barry. So Barry was 30 or 31, no kids, and very likely married Valmay because she did what he told her to do. She was easy to manipulate. She wasn't
just
as good
the power
looking.
dynamic. Yeah.
And before we start feeling bad for her, because she was like kind of a victim in some ways, she's a terrible person. And while she was in prison before she married Barry, she befriended none other than Katherine Knight.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. So BFFs.
We know what this woman's about. Nobody feel bad for her.
Okay. All right.
So Barry and Valmay are quite the pair, but police don't know for sure, if they're connected to this case. And they can't fucking find them because the two of them are straight up on the run. They had a little house they were renting in another area away from Noosa called Lowood. And they used this house. So they were living there. And when they found out that like the body had been found, they went on the run. They dyed their hair dark brown and they fucking boned out. Meanwhile, police are actually starting to like work together to solve this case, which is now a homicide. And there's police up in Ipswich, another area. They see the details of this wagon and this couple, and they reach out to the Noosa police with very interesting information. So apparently, just prior to Sean's murder, there had been a rash of attacks against young women, also who were like blonde, in that area in Ipswich. On November 10th and 11th, which is like 15, 16 days before Sean's murder, a couple in a white station wagon had attempted to abduct at least 3 women who weirdly were all nurses. So they were trying to abduct them from like near a hospital or something. They would approach the women, start talking to them with some BS story like, oh, I need directions. Oh, I'm locked out of my car, like some shit like that. Luckily, none of these times worked out. And the last time this happened, the woman got lucky because a man walked by and she used this as an excuse to jump into her car and speed away. And she took down this plate number for this station wagon as LLE 429. When police looked it up, it was a Camry. Another woman had also thought she got the plate number, but it also ended up being wrong. Meanwhile, the woman on the beach that I mentioned before did have the plate number, and it was LLE 439. So literally just one number off.
Just barely off. Oh my gosh.
Off. And if they had had it right, and it is not these women's fault, but if they had had it right, like what might have happened? It could have, Sean could have not been abducted, So
frustrating. Yeah. I mean, that's also counting on them to theoretically do something about these attempted abductions, though, which who knows if they would.
Well, actually, these women had been reporting it and the police were actively following up on it, but they're like, this is a Camry. It's not a white station wagon. Like, that's how we know that is the police were actually taking this very seriously. They just weren't getting anywhere because they didn't have the right information. And again,
they were actually trying.
They were, but the white station wagon is so popular that they're like, dude, it's like a needle in a haystack, right? Yeah. So now finally they have the correct license plate number. They know they're looking for the same people because there's this abduction, this white, station wagon. And obviously that's the correct number. You know what I mean? It was off by like one number. So now they have an idea of where they might be living. So they tracked down the Lowood place. They find that Barry and Valmay had split about a week earlier, actually the day after Sean's body was found, like I said. But they also found that the couple planned to come back after the heat was off, like after things died down. And it's like, do you really think the cops are just going to like give up in a couple of weeks? Like, oh, we can't find them. We'll just never look for them again. They actually kept paying rent on this address, thinking they would be able to go back and live there again someday. Like the cops would just like forget about it, which is absolutely fucking idiotic. But good, because the couple, in order to go back to that house, they had to pay rent on it. So they found the couple was still paying rent. They intercepted an envelope and found that they were in a holiday town nearby. It's like a town that you go for holidays. So they sent in undercover cops and they picked the couple up at a motel. Meanwhile, Sean's family and friends are like doing candlelight vigils and, like rallying around the family. It's very fucked up and very fucking sad. The town is really fucking, pulled apart. They're just torn apart. It's horrible. And this is kind of jumping forward, but later on when Valmay and Barry end up going to trial, there's people like literally trying to like physically assault them. And then
Oh yeah.
yeah, and when they go in the court and the police come out, people are like actually doing the 3 cheers, like hip hip hooray, like for the cops for having caught these people.
Yeah, I don't blame people for wanting to physically tear these guys apart. Like,
no, I don't at all. I don't either. So anyway, they pick these 2 assholes up. They won't talk. Barry says to Valmay, stay true to me. And she says, I will. But the cops know. They're like, she'll break. This is an abused woman. We just have to be a little bit nice to her. And they are, and it works. Yeah, she's like, oh, these guys like me. I'm going to give them what they want. So she changes her story a few times. You know, she definitely starts off strong. Like, yeah, he did this, but she's like not really telling the truth. Eventually, a few days later, she talks all the way from 10:30 p.m. to 7:30 a.m. the following day and gives them the full story.
Wow.
Not really the full story because she definitely, you know, diminishes her role. But
right,
it's
almost
to arrest them.
Almost there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So later on, the truth is pieced together by police after they record the couple's conversations while they're in the same holding cell in Noosa before they like, you know, actually go to trial. Here is trigger warning number 2. So the way Valmay, you know, she does tell some of this, but again, they also recorded them. The couple didn't know they were being recorded and they were just like talking plainly about this. So Valmay was in the park. She sees Sean. She flags her down and is like, I've lost my poodle. I think it's in this bush. Can you help me find it? I'm trying to get it back. Oh my God. Sean is like, this is an older, like mom looking woman. She's in her 40s. You know, Valmay, if you look her up, she just looks like a mom, which is so fucked up. Because she was how they terrible one.
Lured her. Yeah, she wouldn't have gone with a man doing that.
No. So as Sean is like sticking her head in the bush trying to grab the dog, Barry comes up from behind her. He attacks her. He throws her in the wagon. He ties her up and gags her. He drives her to the forest where she's sexually assaulted for what Valmay said was a little more than an hour. And then strangled, stabbed, and slashed her. And it was later said that he was choking her for a long time and she wouldn't die. So that's why he did all the crazy, violent shit. She was also tortured. There were signs of torture beyond the obvious torture of being sexually assaulted and raped when you're 12 years old. Valmay later told me, I know, it's so fucked. Valmay later
and also that
sorry. No, go ahead. No,
I was gonna say that the fucking dog thing is such a classic child abduction ruse. Like I feel like that's been used multiple times. It's so gross. And like like I literally grew up. I mean, I have like a true crime mom, and I literally who's like very paranoid and shit, and like in a good way. And I grew up literally with her telling me if an adult wants you to look at a dog or a puppy or help find their dog, don't go with them. And I'm sure she had seen this shit on some crime show.
Yeah, it's like a full-grown adult does not need your help, a child's help finding their dog.
Just don't go with them for any reason.
Yeah, never. Run the other fucking direction.
Yeah.
Valmay later told police that Sean was a very brave girl. She never shed a single tear. She never made a single sound. She just...
Wow.
Yeah. She also said that Barry had been fantasizing about raping and murdering raping a virgin, and that she felt that she had to help him because he was no longer attracted to her because of her weight and her age. And she thought the only way that she could get him to stay with her is if she kind of helped him achieve this.
It sounds like a killer couple classic thing too. A little
it really
bit.
is.
Like yeah.
She also said, you know, I tried to stop him from killing Sean and asked him why. And, you know, he said he had to so they wouldn't get caught. But this is definitely bullshit. And we know this because there was one part of the recording where Barry says to Valmay, but you didn't tell them about what happened between you two. And Valmay says, I didn't. So she did something to Sean that we to this day don't fucking know what it is. But
because she was trying to like, you know,
diminish her role and be the hero. Yeah.
Floss over that.
Yeah, I have a feeling that those stab wounds were not inflicted by Barry. Like, I have a feeling they were inflicted by a jealous wife who was very contributed. Upset. Yeah, and I think she was taking out her anger at him on this poor little girl.
Yeah.
Who knows? So the 2 were tried for kidnapping, rape, and murder. They were both found guilty. They were both given life. Barry was stamped never to be released. Valmay had a minimum sentence of 14 years. She was not released after 14 years. She divorced Barry in 1990. And apparently started gaining a lot of weight in prison, had eating issues, and she died in 2008 at the age of 64 after slipping into a coma after a not botched, but just unsuccessful like heart surgery.
Okay.
Did try to get a deathbed confession out of her relating to the murder of a woman named Helen Feeney, which had happened in Ipswich like a week or two before the crime spree that I talked about that they connected these two to. That ended with Sean's murder. Barry was even tried for this murder, and Valmay testified against him, but she wasn't truthful, and so he was found like not guilty because she wouldn't. I think she was would have to implicate herself in order to like tell the truth. So it was kind of worthless. But anyway, whatever she knew, she took to the grave with her. Barry was given something of a retrial and is able to get paroled. He was first eligible in the year 2000, but still has not been released. He was most recently denied in 2021. He'll be 70 in a couple of months, and like that's fine, I guess. But I just hate that the family has to, like, every 2 years or whatever, the family has to deal with, you know, having to write letters or go to court things and just like make sure he doesn't get out or worry that he's going to get out.
So scary. That's so scary.
But he was most recently at 69 years old. His lawyers were like, he's too old to do anything to anybody. And the judge was like, we're not taking that chance. Because obviously that's not true.
Didn't I just cover like a 74-year-old cannibal serial killer?
You did.
Like,
you did.
You can do it. You can do it.
Yeah. If he comes up for parole again, we should just send them a copy of that episode.
You can be a serial killer and be elderly. We have a whole list for that. We should do that again.
And this guy, so one of the reasons that Valmay said she turned on him, which is bullshit, is she told him, like, I thought you'd feel remorse for what you did. And you don't. And he's like, no, I want to do it again. So pretty gnarly.
Ugh,
anyway.
Gross. Well, at least he didn't get to do that again, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's hard to make anything positive of this, but still, I mean.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Anyway, that's it.
That's that. Yeah. I remember watching that Crime Investigation Australia. Also, if you want to deep dive on Australian murders, go watch CI Australia investigation. And it's all on YouTube. And that episode is really haunting.
I don't know, dude. This was enough. Like, I can't believe I did this case. It's not like me to do like a little girl. You know?
No, you don't do kid murders that much. No.
I don't.
I cover those usually and then upset you.
I don't know what it was about this one that I wanted to tell the story. I just thought it was interesting that it's like connected to a bunch of other cases and like, it's nice because it got solved. So, you know,
right?
Yeah.
Well,
I know which one you're doing.
Line, If you want to, yours had resolved, but mine does not. I'm doing the case of Phoebe Handsjuk.
Yes. Fucking horrible case.
Yeah, this is kind of a pretty well-known one in the true crime world. It's been covered by a lot of podcasts, but I learned a bunch that I didn't know or forgot. So I think this will be a good refresher, and it'll make your brain implode.
Dude, this is the craziest fucking case.
You're gonna get ready to get mad and stay mad. You're like, my face got like bright red, like researching this. I was like, I get really like rage faced.
I have lots of thoughts and feelings about this one too. So I'm excited to yell them with you. It's going to be great.
Great. All right. So we're in Melbourne again. Both of my cases are in Melbourne. This is Melbourne in 2010 is when this all happens. Phoebe at the time was 24.
Okay.
She was a super vibrant, beautiful young woman. She lived with her boyfriend at that time of 2 years. They've been dating since she was 22. Anthony, who goes by Ant Hampel. And Ant is 43.
Yes, he is. Yes, he fucking is.
And they lived in his apartment. I say his apartment on purpose. In a fancy apartment building in Melbourne called the Valencia, which I just added to the murder map if you're a patron. It is noted often that Phoebe did have some recurring issues with drinking and drug use and partying, but part of me is like, she's 24 or whatever. But by all accounts, this was to some degree to self-medicate for issues she had with depression and sort of mental struggles she was going through that were often tied directly to her relationships. Because before Ant, she also had I think 2 pretty shitty relationships as well.
So she chooses bad dudes and then tries to like cope with the feelings.
Yes.
Honestly, I think that happens to a lot of people that age, and it's only some that like recognize they're self-medicating, and the rest of people that age are just like, what? I'm just partying.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, to some extent that's happening too, I think, but it's all kind of mixed in with her like also coping.
Right. For sure.
Yeah. And so she's dealing with some shit. However, she's obviously an incredible person. She was deeply loved by her family and friends. She trained as a boxer. She was super fit and outdoorsy. She wrote poetry. She was really creative and liked to paint and things like that. So she's an awesome person. Like I said, she's just been weighed down by some shit.
Yeah, totally.
Ant is from a fancy, well-off family in which both of his parents are judges.
God damn it.
His father is a retired Supreme Court judge of Australia.
Oh my God.
And his mom is a current sitting judge of that county.
Yeah, so he's not well connected at all.
That's just a spoiler of everything to come.
Literally get away with murder.
That's just a spoiler of everything to come. Yes.
Yeah.
So he is a very rich, fancy socialite little boy. I'm saying that to be a jerk on purpose.
Yes, good.
And he runs a fancy events management company. He's probably like that guy that hands you flyers, when you're trying to walk around Vegas in peace. And he's like, oh, check out my party, right?
I actually know a guy that does that for a living, but he gets those people to pay him to do it for them. So it's like actually genius. But yes, I know exactly who you're talking about.
He's that kind of guy. Yeah. No offense to your friend.
No, not at all. Not at all.
So in the weeks leading up to this incident, I'll call it for now, their relationship was severely on the rocks, and they had actually broken up and gotten back together 4 times in the past 6 weeks. So it's barely hanging on by a thread.
Yeah, that's very tumultuous.
And she had told her family that she was going to dump him just days before this. So she was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm really done this time, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. She actually was like ready to, I mean, obviously she's ended bad relationships before somehow. So, she could be doing that again. Yeah.
She was, I think, on her way out, but just had a few false starts.
Right.
A friend of hers or his actually described him as being controlling and verbally aggressive in this relationship.
That's shocking. I wonder why he's dating somebody 20 years his junior almost. Like,
a friend of his also, her friends and family all described how when she moved into his fancy, clean apartment, he was very fussy about how it is. She couldn't have any messes or anything around, and she really didn't move any of her stuff. Like, she didn't move a fucking teacup of hers into this apartment. It's just right.
So we're seeing the power dynamic there, like pretty obviously. Yeah.
Yes. And to give you a sense of the controlling type of fucking asshole this guy is, I wanted to include this detail. It's kind of an aside, but it is so fucking illustrative of this fucking guy. In their most recent breakup, which was just, I think, days before this, or maybe a week or something, she went out for drinks with friends to kind of be like blow off steam or whatever. And she wasn't super drunk or anything, by all accounts, she was doing okay. But the friends reported, and the phone records confirmed, that in 1 hour, Ant called her 27 times back to back.
Yeah. Yeah, that's abuse.
We all know that kind of guy who just keeps calling. Like, that is so scary.
Yep.
And I'm sure with a little booze in her system, she later threw her phone across the street.
She did. Oh, wow.
Yes.
Because obviously she wants to get the fuck away from this guy.
Yes.
Yeah. She wants to get away from him.
She just has a breaking point. Exactly.
Yeah. Yep.
So December 2nd, 2010, this is the last time Phoebe is seen on surveillance footage from the front of the apartment building, leaving with her dog due to a fire alarm that was going on in the building. This is about 1:45 p.m. And she re-enters about 7 minutes later when it's all over. And that's it. She's never seen alive again, supposedly. Security card records show Ant swiping in about 6 p.m. that night. And he says, the only reason people think this is because he says it, but he says when he arrived, she was already gone.
Okay.
But
we don't know that to be true. That's just what he said.
Nope. That's just what he says.
Okay.
Around or just after 7 p.m., her body was discovered by, I think, a cleaning person or a maintenance person on the floor of the apartment building's basement trash room, because they have a trash chute that goes down all the floors.
Right.
And she had fallen 11 stories down, which is nearly a 30-meter fall.
That's fucking crazy. It was almost 90 feet for us Americans.
Yes. And horrifyingly, like, this is so fucking haunting. She actually didn't die upon the fall, but she almost severed her foot.
And that's how she bled out, right?
Yeah. And she got a number of other severe injuries, and between all of them in a locked, dark room she could not get out of, she literally just bled out.
I hate to wonder if she was like awake.
She was. Absolutely.
She was.
Because, We know this because there was blood and kind of like smears all over the room that indicate she was desperately trying to find a way out.
No. My God.
And she probably could have been saved if someone had just swept in there at that exact moment and pulled her out.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Yeah. Horrifying. Really shitty way to go.
Yeah. Jesus Christ, how scary.
Get shittier.
It really
so
doesn't. It's like horror
too.
movie shit, you know?
Yes.
Ugh.
So what's Ant up to? You remember he got home at around what was it, 6 or so, right?
Yeah.
6 o'clock, and he said Phoebe was gone, right? According to him.
Right.
So is he alarmed? No.
He
at around 8 p.m. he orders delivery for one, just for himself, Thai food. And he's just chilling. No alarm here.
This guy who calls her 27 times in an hour doesn't even bother to like text her or call her or wonder where she is. Okay.
Nope.
Well, that's not weird.
And apparently the delivery person just casually remarks that there's a mob of police outside of the building. And then Ant says, that's when I knew it was her. And I'm like, how? What? This is a huge jump. Like,
wait, what?
Then he goes downstairs to report her missing because he hears about the cops. That's the story. Okay.
Oh my God. Really?
That's the story.
Okay.
So when the investigators get to the apartment, they get there and glasses are broken on the floor. There's a smear of blood on the door. There's a smear of blood on the computer and the desk. It basically looks like a huge fight took place. And take in mind, this motherfucker is in this apartment covered in blood and mess and broken glass, casually eating Thai food.
Right. Just not
ordering delivery. No, not alarmed, ordering delivery. If your fucking girlfriend is missing and there's blood like in your apartment and broken glasses, are you going to order delivery and sit down?
For one. I guess she's been kidnapped. Like, don't need to feed her dinner.
No, she doesn't need food. She doesn't need food. Fuck her. Yeah, exactly. So police, spoiler, I'm getting right to it. There's no spoiler. It's police, for reasons we will discuss, and I know that you will agree with me on, police mysteriously and immediately decide that Phoebe killed herself by throwing herself down the garbage chute.
Which is like the number one way that women kill themselves. So it makes a lot of sense.
We're going to break down all the reasons why that's stupid as fuck. But when they fucking arrive at her body as well, the investigators are like, hey, this is Phoebe's body. The fucking police deny the paramedics' request to check for vital signs.
Yeah. They're like, no.
Which is literally unprecedented. According to other detectives and people and paramedics that were interviewed later on in like podcasts and stuff, they're all like, that never happens. That's like the
that's not
minimum.
A thing. That's not a thing. No. It's like you're basically
for suicide victims. It doesn't matter if they try to kill themselves. You always check for vital signs.
Yeah.
Like the basic question of what if she's still alive is not even allowed to be answered.
I love that it feels to me like that's a fucking lawsuit. Like if she was alive,
it should be.
Yeah. Then they essentially like caused her death potentially. You know.
So no vital signs are checked. She could have been still hanging on for all we know. Nope, nothing's checked. Boop, she's dead. She has no official cause of death for that reason. And on spoiler alert, there is no investigation. Here's the ways in which there isn't. They don't get CCTV footage from the building.
Right.
They don't test the blood that I just mentioned to see even like whose it was, maybe.
Yeah.
They don't look at her phone, don't look at her computer. Some of this is pulled in bits and pieces by later investigators, but not the official ones.
Right. Not the ones who had the chance to actually do something, probably because, I don't know, they know a couple of judges. I wonder.
Yeah.
I wonder.
Could it be? So lots of things make the suicide version of the story total fucking bullshit. So I'm going to go through a lot of them.
Okay.
There's so many. First of all, how the fuck does she physically do that? Especially getting in feet first. This is a weighted door. So the kind of thing where you pull it and it snaps right back.
Yeah. Those are hard to pull too.
It's high up on the wall. It's 30 and it only opens up 36 centimeters.
Right.
So it has a very small opening. It doesn't go all the way. It doesn't create like a big hole in the wall. It opens up like a narrow little slot, right?
And it's actually tall on purpose. It's for safety so that people can't get into it.
Yeah,
or fall
a kid
into
can't
it.
get in it or something. Yeah, exactly. So why the fuck also would anyone kill themselves in that way, as you just mentioned? This is a person who has alcohol. She has sleeping pills, which I'll get to.
There's so many ways that
she has a billion ways. She has a balcony, for God's sake. She's on the 12th floor. She could have jumped off that if she wanted to be dramatic. Like, there's fucking so many easy ways to do this.
Yeah, this is a very, like, unsure. The fact that she was alive for a while shows that this is, like, the least sure way. And also, I'm sorry, I know I'm jumping ahead, but I just have to say this. If you are trying to kill yourself, why would you then crawl around trying to find a way to escape?
That was my next sentence. Yeah. If you're suicidal, why do you fight to get out? Yes.
Yeah. What the fuck?
Exactly.
Like,
so God. 60 Minutes Australia had a woman of actually one of her friends who's the exact same weight and like height and build and everything, try to get in, essentially. And this, and spoiler, I mean, I think I should have said this earlier, but Phoebe was found with some sleeping pills and some alcohol in her system.
Right.
And this is going to be a huge thing throughout. For various reasons. But anyway, this dead ass sober woman,
you're right.
Literally, they're just like, go for it, figure it out, you know?
Get in there.
And it is so insane to watch. It is not a natural thing. She really has to think it through. Like, this is not just a physical task, but it's kind of intellectual. She's like, okay. Like,
yeah, like, how do I hoist my body really into this? And like, and also the way that she went in, she has to replicate, which is like basically not possible. Yeah.
Feet first. Yeah. So by the time this girl's managing to do it, it's a huge struggle. She's out of breath. She has to literally balance carefully, prop her body up on the wall with nothing to grip onto, right? And like just delicately balance. It takes forever. It's so difficult. And once she manages to sit down into the opening, which is, again, like I said, really hard, she can barely squeeze her upper body through that narrow opening. Like, it's painful. It's difficult.
Right.
And this is a girl, so Phoebe had a blood alcohol level of 0.16, which is decent.
That's double the limit here. I don't know what it is there, but
I feel like she might be conscious. She's just gonna be pretty drunk, right?
Right. Yeah.
But she had sleeping pills in her system as well. And some people say, like, you know, the fucking assholes who I'll get to later say that, oh, well, she was delirious, right? So that's why she could manage to do this, because she was out of her mind, delirious and being irrational. However, all the experts, like the medical fucking experts on those drugs, experts on the effects of them, medical examiners say, actually, it's reversed. It would make it much harder.
Yeah, she's not on PCP. Like, what the fuck? Like, come on.
No, but it would make it much harder to do because it requires balance and focus and like all these things that are going to be super harder if you're not in your right mind. Harder. And also her friends point out that she was profoundly claustrophobic. She hated small spaces, which makes the way she spent her last 15 minutes or so of life really extra horrible.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
And a couple other details. There weren't any fingerprints. I don't know even how they realized this, because no one was really checking. But by the time someone did check, I guess, there were no fingerprints of anyone found around or on the chute.
Right, because she somehow wiped them down from the outside?
She must have taken a little wet wipe, and when she sat down in the chute, she leaned back around and just wiped it all down, I guess.
And did a really excellent job and got rid of all of the fingerprints.
Yeah, so there was no fingerprints, and if that was her and she was sloppy drunk trying to fucking shove herself in there, she would have been fingerprinting everywhere, right?
Yeah, this is so fucking stupid. This is so obvious what's going on.
Her pants were also down around her knees when she was found. There was no sexual assault that took place, but this is more consistent with someone being shoved down.
And her pants coming off as she's being shoved in.
Yes.
Yeah.
At the time she did this, she also had her hair curler plugged in and turned on. She also had her sunglasses on her head.
Okay, because she was getting ready to leave. Why would you go from like, I'm going to curl my hair, I'm suicidal, never mind, I'm gonna kill myself? Like, that's not come on, guys.
And again, people attribute all these inconsistencies to the sleeping pills and she was just delirious, but it's like, actually you could say the opposite as well, right? So Ant and his family's powerful lawyers try and stop there from even being a coroner's inquest into her death, which for a mysterious death, a really weird suicide, that is insane.
And if they're saying like it's a suicide, why would you want to prevent it if you're so sure that's what it is? Like, who cares?
So they try to actually legally stop the coroner's inquest from happening.
How?
Like,
Like,
but
how
it
could
does
they even
happen.
Okay, good. Not that it does anything, but good.
No, don't get excited.
Yeah,
Because clearly our judge gang here gets their little feet and hands, paws, I was going to say, into this mess. Yeah. Because the medical examiner, after I think 18 months or so, officially rules her death an accident. And granted, she also he could have ruled this an open finding, which is Australian for like inconclusive, which would have made sense given that there was virtually no evidence tested and it's totally incomplete evidence.
Right.
But no, this guy says it is definitively an accidental death.
Yeah, no, it's not. Yeah, it's absolutely not. This is clearly people all working together on purpose to clear this guy. And the way that he went about kind of, the way that he carried himself was the way that somebody does when they know they can literally get away with murder. He wasn't careful because he knew he didn't have to be. Basically,
absolutely.
like straight up.
Yes. Yeah. And I can tell also there's a fear of this family in the Australian media because every single story and show is like, some shows don't even mention the boyfriend. Like 60 Minutes Australia, for example, does this whole breakdown of why her getting in the chute's impossible, but then they could stop completely short of even mentioning him. They're like, well, what could it be?
Because they're probably afraid of getting sued.
Yes. Yeah. Hopefully I'm not sued. But anyway, like literally and all the news stories have these big things where like, we are not accusing him. We know he's found innocent. We're sorry. Like these like little weird like addendums, right?
Right. We're not accusing him either, just for the record. I feel like we should just say that real quick. We're not accusing him.
Yeah, we're not.
We're not accusing him.
We mean it. Yeah, don't sue us. Okay. So here's the coroner's really cool explanation of Phoebe's evening. And get ready, it's really fucking stupid.
I'm excited for the stupidity.
Angering. So he says that because she's being drunk and crazy, basically, she broke a glass in her apartment and cut her finger, which explains the blood, which again, none of that was tested, but that's cool that you can definitively say that. Then she threw out some trash in the chute. And it's funny that this detail is in the coroner's findings because there was no trash found in the chute with her or there at all.
Okay.
No. What? Her trash that she supposedly threw out was not there. Didn't happen.
So then why is that still a thing? Like, why is that still part of the story? If it's like just proven that's not true.
So he put that in there in the coroner's findings. Then he says, because she loved climbing stuff. He literally says it's in the coroner's findings because I guess she liked rock climbing. She liked rock climbing. So he says, because she loved climbing, she in a like barely conscious state, just climbed on down the trash chute. Either for fun or because she was like killing herself. That's it. Because she loved climbing.
Okay. First of all, that's wrong. There's no way. Here's the thing that drives me crazy about cases like this. It's like you all have so little integrity that you're fine with us thinking that you are just the dumbest people on the planet. Because if anybody just looks at this from an outside perspective for 5 seconds, we all know what actually happened or what should at least be investigated. And we all know the connection this piece of shit has to judges and courts. And we all know, like, we're not this stupid and we don't believe you're this stupid. You don't have these jobs if you make these calls regularly because you're not doing your job. Like, the fuck.
Also, there are many people point out to the fact that there were substantial bruises all over her upper body and especially in her kind of underarm area that looked very much like grip marks that the pathologist and coroner just didn't mention.
They were like, oh, that's nothing. That's nothing.
Yeah. She was just running around smacking herself probably because she was so crazy, right? No,
she was so
guess
drunk.
what? And also, they're the exact place where if you were grabbing someone super fucking hard and shoving them in a chute, that's where you'd grab, right? On the
so
sides.
Weird. Ignore that. Ignore the man behind the curtain.
Also, I mentioned the fucking like how the recreation was impossible for the girl to get in.
Yeah.
But they did a recreation with like a dummy where someone shoved it in. You can certainly do that.
That was easy. Yeah.
Yeah, you can certainly do that.
Yeah.
to some damage, obviously, to the dummy, but you can do it, right?
Yeah, well, who cares about damaging them? You're throwing them down a chute. And the other thing
Exactly.
is, I guarantee you, she was fighting back, and the blood
Yes.
smears and things were on the wall, which is why the wall was cleaned.
Yeah, and
I
also
wonder if they did. Her what?
yeah.
Yeah,
Also, her inebriation could have made it harder for her to fight back, though, as well.
it could have, but like I don't.
Yeah.
If she was conscious, she was probably not totally chill with what was happening.
Right.
You know,
Right. Yeah.
because I mean,
And there's
she
also,
didn't like something cut her or cut someone in that apartment probably during the same time, the broken glass and all of that. So obviously, she had enough energy for that. Or
yes, yeah, for a struggle,
happened.
I think.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
also, as she was going down the chute, I forgot to mention this, but there was evidence that she tried to like stabilize herself. There was and like kind of slow her rate, because she was like with her kind of elbows or hands, so that she was trying to not just plummet to her death, but she was trying to like mitigate it.
So she was trying to kill herself slowly. Like
more slowly,
what?
Yeah.
How do they fucking like? Come on.
No, and I hate the idea too that because she was drunk, it's like she lost all will to live. It's like, no, if you don't want to die and you're drunk, you still don't want to die. Like,
it's like,
you know,
I love how something that is so widely accepted as like drinking can suddenly be like a really great victim blaming tool when you want to like scapegoat somebody.
Oh, for sure. Yes.
It's like, well, they were drinking, and it's like, dude, I don't drink, and I am like one of very few people I know. Like, I'm the weirdo. Like, I'm the odd man out.
Everybody deserve to be able to be drunk and not get murdered. Like, you deserve,
and not be blamed for your own death in situations like this. Like, this is fucking ridiculous.
Yes. So just a little bit more. Sorry, this one's long because I had to condense it down so much.
No, it's great.
So what else is up with Ant? There's some more things we have to tell you about him.
Oh yes.
People describe him around this time as turning his emotions on and off, doing that classic thing where he's crying but the tears aren't coming out, right? He and his family are super rude to her family. They refuse to talk to her family. They're super cold to them. Right away to her family, they're like, no, suicide. She was really sad. She was depressed, blah, 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 right? They're doing all that shit. And despite purportedly grieving, Ant apparently had a great time at the funeral and was like really enjoying the attention, just acting like a dick.
Shocking. Well, I mean, he ordered himself takeout, you know?
Yeah, in the messed up apartment. And one more thing, a lot is made of how the swipe card records show him entering at 6 p.m. Again, we don't know that she wasn't home. Probably was. But the other thing that's really curious is that his family was there like really quickly that night. Interestingly, the Judge family, and there was no swipes to show them entering. So it's almost like the whole swipe thing is bullshit.
Yeah, and doesn't actually prove anything and is really easy to get around.
Yeah. And get ready for this, everyone. If you're not mad already, get ready for your eyeballs to like bleed out of their sockets. Anthony went on to date a 25-year-old model named Bailey Schneider, who in July 2018 was found dead under mysterious circumstances that were ruled to be suicide.
So he just loves dating girls that want to end up killing themselves, that he has nothing to do with it.
For him.
And don't you
so
say
weird
otherwise.
For him. Yeah. And just hours, this happened just hours after she had dumped him while out at a barbecue. So very identical to Phoebe, who we knew was planning to dump him.
Yeah, that's very, very, very not suspicious.
Yeah. And Bailey was found resting against a cupboard with a gold cord around her neck in a very suspicious looking hanging, where it's kind of low. It's not, I didn't look too much into the details, but apparently it's not the like obvious place you would hang yourself from. It was too low. It was weird.
Yeah.
And in 2020, her death was officially ruled a suicide, as I already said.
Of course it fucking was. I wonder how his next girlfriend's going to kill herself and him have nothing to do with it.
Yeah, and to me, it's not a fucking coincidence that both of these young women, Phoebe and Bailey, they're around the same age, and they both were going through mental health issues, substance abuse issues. They're both kind of insecure and vulnerable. They're in a tough place in their lives, and they're both kind of seeking love and approval. And in swoops this fucking abusive asshole, right? Who's also got more money. He's got the fancy apartment, right? And like, it's so fucking disgusting. Because in both cases, the fact that they were inebriated, and the fact that they were going through mental health issues, he almost like picks that. He almost prefers that, not only because you can abuse and manipulate them in the relationship, but because when it's time to dispose of them, he can just be like, look, she was drunk and had mental health issues. Boom, suicide.
Yeah, not my fault, not my fault. He likes it for so many reasons. The power dynamic during the relationship, the control that he has at all points. They are easier. It's easier to get away with killing them. Like, yeah. Not that he killed them. I'm not saying he did.
No, definitely we're not saying that. But it is so disgusting to prey on women, like,
if all he's doing is dating women half his age who he knows he can control, he's still the worst. Just
exactly. Yeah.
The worst.
We can accuse him of that at least.
Yeah, I mean that's like on the
that
fucking there's
so that's the case. Obviously this fucker and his happy family of fucking judges is still doing fine. Despite the official coroner's ruling, Phoebe's family has not shut up, and the general true crime public has not either. No one accepts this explanation. It's gotten a lot of media attention, and there's continued calls for reinvestigations, reopening the case as a homicide, because it's never been investigated as one. Ever.
Right.
Ever.
Because they just want to cover this up for their friend, their judge family, it's fucking ridiculous.
It's fucked up. And lastly, there's a really good podcast that Sydney Herald put out about it called Phoebe's Fall. If you want to listen to that, and they go into in-depth things, and they also have more about like who Phoebe was and like her background, so I recommend it.
It's really interesting that they have this security footage of her leaving just before that, but then they don't have any security footage of her going in. Also, I remember when I first heard about this that there was a lot of kind of talk about, it was like her dad's birthday, which is so fucked up, and they were going out to dinner. So they were also like, why would fuckwad order food for one if he knew he was going out to dinner with his girlfriend and her family in like an hour or two? Like, why are you ordering dinner? Like, I remember that was a big thing. Like, you knew that you all had like a dinner date with her family. Obviously her curling iron's on, like she's getting ready to go and she's not there. So why wouldn't you, like, there's so many reasons to like try to find her. There's so many reasons to like call her family. There's so many reasons to not order food, but it's just really
I could not eat in a situation like that. No. And that detail is really glossed over a lot. And I'm like, wait a minute, back up. He ordered food. Like what?
Yeah, no, I know. God damn it. This case pisses me off. It's like, what's the American version where the woman committed suicide by stabbing herself in the back like 21 times?
That one got, you covered that actually.
I did. I can't think of her name right now, but they finally reopened it as a homicide or like allowing it to potentially be a homicide because like what the fuck?
Yeah. They were like, oh yeah, she killed herself by stabbing herself in the back of the head 4,000 times.
Yeah, and it was like one of the things that they were able to prove is like a fatal stab wound happened before like multiple other stab wounds, and it's like, oh, so she killed herself and then kept stabbing herself like with her dislocated arm that she'd have to be able to reach. God. Like it's so just dumb. Insane, like how unjust our world is and how easily bought people are, and like
and how when certain people like DAs or coroners or whatever who potentially have been bought off, whenever they have said something, same with police reports, there's situations where like certain people, certain documents can say whatever they fucking want, and it's like, okay, we all just believe that now, but they can say whatever they want. They can literally lie, guys. Like they can
they do it all the time.
Go and read the original Ahmaud Arbery police report. Like that shit will blow your mind. Like it is literally lies from top to bottom.
Yeah,
and
it's just police
report.
This is how it is. Like
that's a police report. Yeah,
it's so fucking crazy that we have to be the police. We have to police the police in order to actually have like any sort of fair representation or justice.
And there's lots of times when coroners are full of shit. I don't trust them with Kendrick Johnson. I don't trust.
No.
Like there's a couple notorious coroner moments where I'm like, no.
Yeah, like y'all are not doing a good job. It's crazy how it's so weird how political this shit is. Like, it's like, dude, like you have a really straightforward job. Just figure out how they died. And you can't change that because somebody's going to give you money or tell you you're going to get in trouble. Like, I don't know. It makes me crazy. I hate everyone. But yeah, that case pisses me off.
Fucked up.
Oh, it really is. Okay, well, there it is. We're done. At least my horrible case had a conclusion. Damn you for ending us on this.
Sorry. There we go.
It's all good. What are we doing next week, by the way?
I have not even thought about it. Give me
The
3 seconds. I'm
eternal
sorry.
question. No,
I'm
it's
sorry
okay.
I'm sorry to make you edit this. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've definitely put a lot of careful thought into it. We didn't just talk about it right now or anything. But yeah, but I think it's been on our list of lists, and it would be fun to do thrill kills because I've been thinking about that. I've also thought about the topic being called like most random murders, but that's kind of the same thing of like, you know, the idea is they did a horrible murder just for no reason at all, just to murder, not for robbery, not for anything else, just purely murder for murder.
And we're not doing like serial killers, right? It's more just like random.
A one-off,
yeah, okay. Because serial killers, that's kind of their whole shtick is like, you know.
Yeah, but they're also murdering because they have like a whole long, complex like thing where they're fantasizing about Jeffrey Dahmer's fantasizing about the body and this is like where it's not that deep. They just randomly like having a beer, like, let's murder.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Got it.
Yeah.
Truly senseless. Okay.
Yes. No reason, no motive, no deep psychological profile. Yeah.
All right. You guys get ready for us to get fired up over these dipshits.
Yeah.
Okay. So there it is. Sorry we missed a week, guys. My internet is much better now. So hopefully these will be clearer, cleaner, and more consistent. And
sounds good to me.
Yeah, I'm into it. This was much easier tonight. So thanks everybody for listening, supporting. Please like, rate, review, share with your friends, tell your mother. And until the next one,
stay
off our
base.
Stay off them. Bye. Bye.